Have you ever stopped to think that maybe a truly fulfilled life isn't about being one way or another, but about getting all the different parts of you to work together? Today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating idea that every single one of us, no matter our gender, has both masculine and feminine energies inside. And the real secret to thriving? It's getting them to play on the same team. So, does this sound familiar at all? You're just constantly doing things, hustling, checking off your to-do list, and at the end of the day, you're just wiped out. Or, hey, maybe it's the opposite. You're full of amazing ideas and feelings, but you feel completely stuck, like you just can't take that first step. Well, according to the idea we're exploring today, those feelings, burnout on one side, stagnation on the other, are just classic signs that your inner energies are out of whack. But here's a really cool way to think about it. Instead of beating yourself up, what if you saw it as just managing an inner team? You know, when all the players are in sync and working together, you feel fantastic. But when they're not, that's when you really feel the strain. So let's talk about that out of balance life for a second. And here's the most important thing to get right off the bat. Feeling out of sync isn't some kind of personality flaw. Not at all. It's just a signal. Think of it like a check engine light on your car's dashboard, telling you, hey, some parts of your internal world need a little attention. It's just a system that's waiting for a tune-up. All right, so who's on this inner team anyway? According to this framework, we've all got 4 key players inside of us. And honestly, just getting to know who they are is the very first step toward bringing your whole life back into a really nice, harmonious balance. First up, you've got the king or the queen. This represents your static masculine energy. Now, static just means stable, like a foundation. This is your inner architect, right? It's the part of you that sees the big picture, creates the blueprint for your life, and sets a clear direction. Next is the warrior, which is your dynamic masculine energy. So if the king is the architect with the plans, the warrior is the builder who actually gets to work. Dynamic here is all about action and movement. This is your focused, disciplined, get-it-done energy that takes the king's vision and makes it real. Okay, now for the feminine energies. We start with the mother, or the static feminine. And just like the king, this is a foundational, stable energy. The mother is basically your internal nurturer. It's the part of you that makes sure you have a safe, secure base to work from, proper rest, good food, a sense of safety. It's the absolute bedrock of your well-being. And finally, rounding out the team, we have Aphrodite. She represents your dynamic feminine energy. This is your playful, creative, spontaneous side. It's the part that finds joy in the journey itself, not just the destination. Aphrodite is the one who makes sure that life is actually fun and worth living. Now, this image illustrates the idea perfectly. Think of it like a 4-seated seesaw. You've got your 2 masculine energies, the king and the warrior, on one axis, and your 2 feminine energies, the mother and Aphrodite, on the other. For you to feel centered and stable, all 4 of them need to be in balance. If one gets pushed way up, another gets slammed down, and the whole system just starts to feel really wobbly. So what does that wobble actually feel like in your day-to-day life? Let's take a look at what happens when one side of this inner seesaw gets way too heavy. This really lays out the 2 extremes. When your masculine energy is totally dominant, you're always in doing mode. It's all warrior, no mother. You get a ton done, for sure, but you're neglecting rest, you're neglecting joy, and that leads straight to burnout. But on the flip side, if your feminine energy takes over completely, you might find yourself being overly passive, just nurturing and being without taking the action needed to grow. And that leads to feeling stuck or stagnation. And this is where things get really interesting. When that masculine king becomes a bit of a tyrant and forbids any time for Aphrodite's playfulness, your inner child, that emotional core of you, doesn't just get quiet, it rebels. It basically turns into a destructive teenager, and it starts actively sabotaging the king's grand plans. Procrastination, bad habits, a sudden I don't care attitude. It's really just a desperate cry for balance. So if any of that sounds a little too familiar, how do you actually fix it? Let's dive into some practical, real-world strategies for harmony, all designed to get your inner team back in sync and working together again. So to boost your feminine being energy, the whole focus is on connection and flow. We're talking about things like yoga or meditation to reconnect your mind and body, practicing being flexible like water instead of resisting everything. It's about having the courage to be vulnerable, making time for creative hobbies, and this one's huge, learning how to receive gracefully. whether it's a compliment, a helping hand, or just a moment of peace. And to strengthen that masculine doing energy, the approach is all about structure and moving forward. This means setting really clear, specific goals, and then using discipline to actually follow through. It means taking full responsibility for your choices and actions. And critically, it's about training your inner warrior to move forward despite fear, not waiting for the fear to disappear. Okay, so beyond those general strategies, how can you start talking to your inner self directly? We're going to look at a couple of really powerful exercises that can open up that line of communication. And this is where the work gets really personal and powerful. Okay, try this super simple art therapy exercise, and you do not need to be an artist, I promise. First, just draw any shape that feels like you. Then, pick a color or a simple shape for each of your 4 parts: the king, the warrior, the mother, and Aphrodite. And just place them inside your big shape. Now, just look at it. Who's taking up all the room? Who's tiny and squashed in a corner? This gives you instant feedback from your subconscious. And for the final step, write a quick story where they all work together to achieve something. This starts to retrain your brain on what that balance actually looks and feels like. Here's another really cool, kind of fascinating technique you can try. Think of your dominant hand, the one you normally write with, as your logical adult self. Your non-dominant hand is more connected to your intuitive inner child. So try this. With your dominant hand, write down a question like, what do you really need from me right now? Then switch the pen to your other hand and just let it answer without thinking or judging. You might be totally surprised by what comes out. And this is really what it all boils down to. This isn't just some navel-gazing internal exercise. By managing your inner world, by getting your king, your warrior, your mother, and your Aphrodite to finally work together as a team, you automatically, without even trying, change how you experience the outer world. Your career, your relationships, your health, it all starts right here, inside.
So, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Based on everything we've just talked about, which part of your inner team really needs your attention today? Is it your king, your warrior, your mother, or your Aphrodite? Just answering that question honestly for yourself, well, that's the first real step on the path back to harmony.